a lot of the sort of second and third layer cities in Sweden as well, you have population growth of 1 to 2%. You have very strong demand, and you might have even, as in the case in Oslo, a sort of construction pipeline that almost completely stopped in 2008 and 2009. So there's a complete over demand, and we don't see any vacancies really in decent locations and decent assets. You don't see any vacancies in residential assets. So normally investors would see that as a very healthy, steady, and well-diversified cash flow, sort of having a good total return on their investment. But getting in as a foreigner and being involved in such operational heavy assets, that's maybe the sort of critical element.
Yeah. I think Denmark is now being targeted for residential assets for Swedish investors because the house prices are down some 30 to 40% in Denmark. Exactly, their bubble exploded, and therefore there are interest for Swedish investors to go into Denmark and buy now, what we think is fairly cheap.
Of course, CBRE has, as I mentioned, the turning torso in Malmo could be an interesting investment. But from your perspective in Gothenburg, how is the residential market structure there? Is it just totally dominated by local players?
Yes, it is, but it's similar as the rest of Sweden and the Nordic countries. But I do not agree that it's just to the funds and the institutional and special buyers. It's for the A properties and B plus properties. Yep. If we're talking about B minus and C properties that are more management intensive, then we have a scope of potential acquisition and with quite attractive yield levels. But do not forget that it's a lot of work with that type of properties. Right. And it's also the financing side on that side is not as attractive. I don't know the exactly leverage, but if we're talking about 80–85% on a residential today, that type of properties may be down on 60. So it's a difference there.